the need of thorough studies. Construction industry experts say the early ban on asbestos roofing sheets should have only been done after thorough study.
All these problems wouldn't have faced by Sri Lanka if we had taken the earlier decision after a careful study.
Ready to elect village representatives. The second and the final phase of submitting the nominations for 248 local government bodies ended today. Despite the warnings from the Election Commission, a number of nominations papers rejected. Delivering before deadlines. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says the Rajagiriya flyover is expected to open for traffic in January next year, 11 months before the planned date. Easing the cost of living. The year-on-year inflation based on the National Consumer Price Index declined to 8.4% in November due to the lower prices of essential commodities. Lamenting over majority voice. US President Donald Trump is unhappy with countries voting against his decision over Jerusalem.
Let them vote against us. We'll save a lot. We don't care.
Bring you news from home and across the world. This is First at 9 on Derana 24/7. Good evening, I'm Katrina Chang. Now on to your top story tonight. The Chamber of Construction Industry of Sri Lanka, the government's decision to lift the proposed ban on asbestos shows no policy direction. Secretary General of CCI, Nissanka Wijeratne, pointed out that the initial stance to ban asbestos should have been based on policy research. Meanwhile, chair of the think tank Learn Asia, Rohan Samarajiva, pointed out that backtracking policy decisions damages the government's credibility. The government yesterday announced that the ban on white asbestos, which was to come into effect from January 1st next year, will be lifted for government contracts. However, the ban of blue asbestos continues.
Asbestos is a commercial and legal term encompassing multiple types of minerals with 6 types of asbestos in circulation, namely actinolite, amosite, anthophyllite, chrysotile, chrysotolite and tremolite. Chrysotile, or white asbestos, is the most commonly used form of asbestos and can be found in roofs, ceilings, walls and floors of homes and businesses. However, amosite, commonly known as brown asbestos, and chrysotolite, or blue asbestos, are proven to be more harmful to human health and have been banned from usage within Sri Lanka for many years. CEO of the Chamber of Construction Industry, Nissanka Wijeratne, emphasises that no construction worker has been exposed to any asbestos-related diseases in the country.
Chrysotile asbestos fiber, as used in producing high-density fiber cement roofing and ceiling sheets, has not been proven yet to be harmful for the human beings in any part of Sri Lanka. Chrysotile fiber is largely imported from Russian Federation. Now, when the main product imported from Russia is banned by us, we have to expect that that country also will take some retaliatory measure to keep the trade balance unaffected. It's good that government has decided not to proceed with the ban, but when a government takes a decision, it has to be fact-based, well-judged decision. All these problems wouldn't have faced by Sri Lanka if we had taken the earlier decision after a careful study on the true facts on the use of chrysotile asbestos fiber in the production of fiber cement roofing sheets.
The World Health Organization, however, in its special report, Chrysotile Asbestos, published in 2014, emphasizes that asbestos is one of the most important occupational carcinogens, causing about half of the deaths from occupational cancer. According to the WHO, 107,000 people die each year across the world due to asbestos-related diseases. The World Health Organization also said that all types of asbestos cause cancer in humans. The WHO proposes an end to the use of all types of asbestos to efficiently eliminate asbestos-related diseases. Industry experts, however, have contradictory views on the matter.
The NBRO has found that there is no threat in the air quality of the fiber manufacturing plants as well as living under a asbestos roof or a cement asbestos roof. And what we use in the roof is not purely asbestos. It has only about 8% of asbestos. All the other things are cement and water. In the European countries, now they have found that the most of the people who have got, they told that it was related to asbestos, but ultimately they have found that mesothelioma, asbestosis and lung cancers is not caused by the chrysotile asbestos, and people have been misled by the anti-Russian and anti-asbestos people on this subject.
Russia being Sri Lanka's biggest import market of asbestos raw materials, the government import 40,000 to 50,000 metric tons of it from Russia each year. 99.9% of these raw materials are used in roofing product manufacturing by 4 authorized companies in Sri Lanka.
Suddenly, in 2017, just before it was supposed to take effect, the government has withdrawn the ban. Now, the issue is, why do we have these kinds of policy flip-flops? The original decision was not taken in the proper way. This is a serious matter. The allegation is that this kind of roofing that is very common in Sri Lanka is carcinogenic. I don't think the evidence is that clear, the scientific evidence about using it in roofing. So the primary issue here is whether it has negative impacts on users. Now these things should have been done before the decision was made. When it comes to complex policy matters that have technical components, let us follow the proper procedures, commission the studies, look at the evidence, consult the stakeholders, let all parties have their say, and based on that make a decision, and then don't change it.
Meanwhile, politicians expressed their views on the matter today.
ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම ඇස්බෙස්ටෝස් තහනම් කිරීම සඳහා ජනමතය හැදීමට මම දායක වෙච්ච කෙනෙක්. ඒ කියන්නේ කිසිම වාදයක් නැහැ. මම තමයි ජනමතය ගොඩනගන හුඟක් පුරෝගාමී වුණා.
දැන් ඇත්තම කුරුමිනිය ඇස්බෙස්ටස්. ඇස්බෙස්ටස් නිෂ්පාදනය කිරීම දැන් පිළිකා නිසා තහනම් වුණා නම් කොහොම මේ කැබිනට් එක කියන්නේ තහනම ඕනේ නැහැ කියලා.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe is hopeful of commissioning the flyover in Rajgiriya during January next year. The Premier engaged in an observational tour of its construction site this morning, and during which he spoke on the project.
The Rajagiriya flyover project was undertaken at a cost of 4.7 billion rupees with funding from the Spanish government with the objective of reducing traffic congestion along the route during peak hours. It boasts 4 lanes and is 532 meters in length. At present, the traffic moves along the route at 2.5 kilometers per hour during the morning rush hour and 9 kilometers per hour in the evening. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe engaged in an inspection tour of the construction site this morning.
Actually, this was to finish in December next year. We decided to construct all 4 lanes at once, so we will be able to declare open the flyover in January next year with the patronage of the President. We will construct a main road from Kalaniya Bridge to Colombo Fort, and a part of it will be constructed up until Rajagiriya. We have allocated money to construct a road network from Kandy to Hambantota. In addition, programs such as LRT are necessary for our economy. This is the longest flyover that has ever been constructed in Sri Lankan history. Its length is 0.5 kilometre. We will not call this a long-term plan. It will be a long-term plan with the addition of the LRT. LRT2 will be constructed nearby.
Meanwhile, the Premier declared open the Homagama bus stop and vested it in the public this evening. It is built under the Sukita Puravara development plan implemented by the Ministry of Megapolis and Western Development.
Now, the window given to submit nominations for 248 local government bodies came to a close at noon today, with the local government elections set to be held on the 10th of February next year. Now, it will see 8,356 members being elected to local government bodies. Nominations of several political parties, however, including the list of the Sri Lanka Podujana Perumuna for the Tiripane Pradeshiya Sabha, was rejected.
A number of political parties and independent groups submitted nominations this morning. United National Party submitted nominations for several local government bodies in the Colombo district today. Tamil Progressive Alliance submitted nominations with the participation of Minister Manu Ganesan. Nominations were submitted by the United People's Freedom Alliance for several local government bodies in the Colombo district. Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna also handed over nominations for local government bodies in the Colombo district. Sri Lanka Freedom Party submitted nominations for local government bodies in the Gampaha district this morning. United National Party too handed over nominations for local government bodies in the Gampaha district. Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna also submitted nominations for Gampaha. Nominations were also submitted by Janatha Vimukti Peramuna for local government bodies in Gampaha. United National Party submitted nominations for local government bodies in the Hambantota district under the patronage of Minister Sajith Premadasa. Sri Lanka Freedom Party too submitted nominations for local government bodies in Hambantota. UNP candidates of the Anuradhapura district submitted nominations for the local government bodies with the participation of Minister Chandrani Bandara. Several parties including the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna submitted nominations for the Kalutara district. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka Freedom Party submitted nominations for the Ratnapura district's local government bodies. The United National Party too handed over submissions for the Ratnapura district. Along with that, Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna also submitted nominations for the local government bodies of the district. Nominations were submitted by several political parties in Kandy as well. The UNP submitted nominations for the Mathura district. Meanwhile, the UNP and the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna submitted nominations for the Ampara district. Subsequent to the closure of the window, the nomination list submitted by the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna for the Thirappane Pradeshiya Sabha was rejected as the date was not mentioned correctly. Moreover, nominations submitted for the Valikanda Pradeshiya Sabha by Janasitha Peramuna and the nomination paper submitted by the Maubima Janata Party for the Dikwala Pradeshiya Sabha were also rejected. In the meantime, nominations submitted for the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress for the Valigama Pradeshiya Sabha was rejected since it was not in compliance with the required women representation. In the meantime, nomination submission for 3 local government bodies by 2 political parties and an independent group was rejected in the Colombo district. Additionally, 21 contestants were rejected in several local government bodies in the Kandy district. In the meantime, 3 nomination papers handed over for 3 local government bodies in the Kurunegala district by minor parties were rejected.
On to other local news now. The third ministerial meeting of the Bay of Bengal Initiative of Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation, also known as BIMSTEC, and was held in Colombo, and President Maithripala Sirisena yesterday hosted a dinner for the delegates who attended the meeting.
The ministers and representatives from BIMSTEC member states, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Myanmar, Nepal, Sri Lanka and Thailand attended the dinner at the President's house in Fort. Minister of Social Empowerment and Welfare S.B. Dissanayake, Deputy Minister Ranjan Ramanayake and the delegation, including the Secretary-General of BIMSTEC, M. Saidul Islam, attended the dinner. Meanwhile, President Maithripala Sirisena laid the foundation stone for a nursing facility affiliated to the University of Colombo at Sri Jayawardhanapura General Hospital yesterday. This facility of nursing is established with an investment of 14.5 billion rupees. The new building complex will be built for the faculty with 17 floors and will accommodate approximately 2,000 student nurses at once.
The Department of Examinations announced today that the results of the GCE Advanced Level Examination will be released on the 28th of this month. With that, let's now take a look at other local news on across Sri Lanka.
The Medical Faculty Students Action Committee demands that the pledge given by the government to resolve issues pertaining to SITEM be implemented before the 31st of this month. Its convener Ryan Jalad spoke on the matter today during an anti-SITEM protest in Colombo, adding that failure by the government to deliver on their promise would see them relaunching the struggle against SITEM from next month. Employees of the Magampura port in Hambantota and their families staged a protest opposite the Presidential Secretariat this morning over termination of their employment. This resulted in the closure of the Lotus Road leading to Gaul Road for about half an hour. The upcountry railway services are hampered due to rains experienced in the Central Hills, with incidents of mounds of earth falling on houses also reported from several areas. Officials of the Department of Elections affiliated to the district office in Mathura removed propaganda banners and bills illegally put up by candidates contesting the upcoming local government election.
Acting CEO of Information and Communication Technology Agency of Sri Lanka, Dr. Ajit Maduraperuma says that digitalization is pivotal for industry development. Speaking at a media briefing recently, Dr. Maduraperuma said that ICTA is working on interconnecting various government services to improve efficiency with relevant sectors through digitalization. A media briefing on accelerating digitization in Sri Lanka Year in Review 2017 and looking ahead to 2018 was held in Colombo yesterday.
We are looking at 8 different areas in which we are working. We have to embrace this technology and we have to train our young people to use this technology. We are not just looking at the community and the government, we are also looking at building our industries, startup, supporting Sri Lanka to develop.
Meanwhile, Director of Special Projects for ICTA, Kanchana Tudugala, said that the launch of Lanka Government Cloud next year will improve security for information hosting in government agencies.
We have already connected 550 government organizations and in the process of completing 860 government organizations towards the end of the year. Our plan is to connect 3,500 locations.
Now, the year-on-year inflation based on the National Consumer Price Index declined to 8.4% from 8.8% in October last year, mainly due to comparatively lower levels of prices which prevailed in November 2016, particularly that of coconuts, rice and vegetables. The communique released by the Department of Census and Statistics adds that contribution to the inflation from food group and non-food group in November 2017 are 6.9% and 1.5% respectively, whilst contribution of these two groups to the inflation in November 2016 was 0.7% and 3.5% respectively, resulting headline inflation of 4.1%. When compared to month-on-month changes, however, NCPI in November last year increased to 126.4 from 144.8 reported in the month before. This shows an increase of 1.6 index points or 1.3 percentage points in November this year as compared to October. Chief of the International Monetary Fund, Christine Lagarde, says that Britain's economy is already suffering from last year's vote to leave the European Union, fulfilling previous warnings that Brexit supporters had dismissed as too gloomy. Britain is set to leave the EU at 11 p.m. local time on the 29th of March in 2019. Speaking in London, as she presented the IMF's first full assessment of Britain's economic performances since the Brexit vote yesterday, Lagarde said British growth was a bit of disappointment compared to strength elsewhere in the world.
At the end of this report and at the end of the day, our hope and our recommendation is that the authorities on both sides of the table try to reach hopefully mutually beneficial arrangements in order to eliminate as much as possible and as early as possible the uncertainty surrounding the economic circumstances of the UK.
May I seek an assurance from the Prime Minister that its provisions to change the date of our leaving the EU will be invoked only, if at all, under extremely exceptional circumstances and only for a very short period?
The bill that is going through, though, does not determine that the UK leaves the EU. That's part of the Article 50 process, and it's a matter of international law. And it's important, I think, that we have the same position legally as the European Union, and that's why we've accepted the amendment. But I can assure my honourable friend and the House we would only use this power in exceptional circumstances for the shortest possible time, and an affirmative motion would be brought to the House.
Sri Lankan shares ended steady today near an 8-month low hit in the previous session as losses in oil, palm and telecommunications offset gains in banking and diversified stocks. The Colombo Stock Index ended 0.03% firmer at 6,323.52 cents, edging up from its lowest close since April 11th, touched yesterday. Trading was muted ahead of the holiday season, with turnover hitting a 10-month low. Let's now cross over to RM Sivananandan from the Colombo Stock Exchange.
The benchmark all-share price index gained at 2.16 points to close at 6,323.52. The turnover was 134.65 million rupees with 5.01 million shares changing hands in 2,099 trades. The market capitalization at the end of the day was 2,879.2 billion rupees. Today's foreign purchases was 58.38 million rupees and the foreign sales was 33.71 million rupees.
Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
On to international news now. A vehicle plowed into pedestrians at a crowded intersection in the southern city of Melbourne in Australia today, injuring up to 14 people, leaving several in critical condition. Police said the man who deliberately drove a car into a crowd is a drug user with mental health issues but no known terrorism links. The driver, an Australian citizen of Afghan descent, was taken into custody after a struggle at the scene of the incident. A second man was also arrested after being seen filming the incident, and police said he had a bag of knives with him. It is now believed he has no links to the incident, however, is still assisting police with inquiries. US President Donald Trump threatens to cut off financial aid to countries that vote in favor of a draft United Nations resolution against his decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. The 193-member UN General Assembly moved for a rare emergency special session today at the request of the Arab and Muslim countries on the controversial US decision.
For all of these nations that take our money and then they vote against us at the Security Council, or they vote against us potentially at the Assembly. They take hundreds of millions of dollars and even billions of dollars and then they vote against us. Well, we're watching those votes. Let them vote against us. We'll save a lot. We don't care. But this isn't like it used to be where they could vote against you and then you pay them hundreds of millions of dollars and nobody knows what they're doing.
New Delhi yesterday conducted a trial run of an anti-smog gun in one of its most polluted areas of the Indian capital, looks at ways to combat its annual pollution crisis. Anti-smog gun is a machine that sprays atomized water into the air and is expected to bring down pollution levels. The anti-smog gun, shaped like a hairdryer and mounted on a flat-pack truck, was tested in Anand Vihar area of New Delhi. Now, in an unprecedented turn of events, the Sri Lankan cricket team recently was forced to come off the field during a test match in Delhi owing to high air pollution, with players even being sick on field.
Delhi Environment Minister said that the difference in pollution levels will be observed, if any, after the trial run. He said the anti-smog gun will be rolled out in the streets of New Delhi if it turned out to be successful. According to a US Embassy measure, the level of PM 2.5 stood at 408 at 2 p.m. yesterday, 8 times the upper limit of good quality air at 50. This is an improvement over last week when the pollution levels climbed to 12 times above the recommended limit. A combination of farmers burning stubble, industrial pollution, vehicle exhaust, dust enveloping northern India, including New Delhi, and wind speeds slowing down every year as winter approaches contribute to the pollution.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Derana 24/7.
Sri Lanka got off to a disappointing start in the T20 series with India last evening, with the visitors succumbing to a 93-run defeat. Sri Lanka has already lost the Test and the one-day series during their tour of India, and another defeat in the second T20 match tomorrow would spell another series loss for the Sri Lankan side.
Grabbing the opportunity to bat with both hands, India went after Sri Lankan bowling. Indian captain Rohit Sharma was the first to fall with the score on 38 in the 5th over. Then came a 63-run partnership between opener Lokesh Rahul and Shreyas Iyer. After Iyer's fall with India on 101, Rahul soon followed but not before notching up a half-century. India finished off the innings with 68-run unbeaten stand between MS Dhoni and Manish Pandey. The duo ended the innings with strike rates in the excess of 170 and India had 180 runs for the loss of 3 wickets. The Sri Lankan chase didn't get off to the best of starts and never looked like recovering as wickets tumbled regularly. Opener Upul Taranga was the top scorer for the visitors with 23. Sri Lanka ran out of batsmen for a paltry 87 in the 16th over, handing India a 93-run victory. Yuzvendra Chahal was the pick of the bowlers for India with 4 scalps while Hardik Pandya grabbed 3 wickets.
In front of this as they head off from here to Indore.
Meanwhile, unveiling Sri Lanka's new head coach Chandika Hathurusinghe last evening, President of Sri Lanka Cricket Tilanga Sumatipala touched on how the head coach is restricted by the SLC's constitution.
Our current constitution doesn't provide, as per the sports law, for a coach to be engaged in as a selector. So what we have discussed this with the Honourable Minister. He gave us a solution to incorporate him on tours together with our manager, captain, vice captain and the coach to be incorporated on tours.
Hathurusinghe also responded to questions on the constant change in captains of the national team.
Ideally, if you have players who can play all 3 formats and then command his players on his performance, we would like to have someone captaining all 3 formats. But at this stage, we don't see that happening.
Journalists also sought clarification over Lasith Malinga being rested for the T20 series with India.
To clarify on Lasith, when you say rest in, basically we don't consider a player who is too good enough to play in a format of cricket, then for reasons for the development or giving opportunities to other players, then we rest a player. We are not resting him due to any medical or physical misfortunes or shortcomings. So that's the resting we had with Lasith. Yes, we had a long chat with the coach and he also believes a lot in Mendes. He's been scoring runs and I guess that when the time is right, he'll be brought back.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Let's now cross over to Dhammika Ekanayake at the Other Derana Weather Centre with your forecast first evening edition.
Good evening and welcome to the Weather Centre. Well, tomorrow is said to be a relatively cool day with temperatures staying below 30 degrees Celsius in most coastal areas around the country. However, it might get a bit chilly in the central province as temperatures are set to dip below 20 degrees Celsius. For those who are already exploiting the school holidays, it will stay dry for large chunks of the day, but there will be some showers in the western province in the afternoon through to the early evening. Now, after all, it's a bit too much to ask for a white Christmas in a tropical country. Up next is your city-by-city forecast. Hope you enjoy your holidays.
Now, when you have the time, make sure you connect with us on Facebook as well. Go to our facebook.com/first@9 or Twitter at twitter.com/first@9. And before we go, we'd like to take you to Eiffel Tower in Paris, which has been transformed into winter wonderland, all decked out for the holidays with Christmas trees and giant penguins. The light decorations can be viewed until February 18th. Thank you for joining us and have a pleasant evening.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Let the holy word of the Bible